Hey friends, Steve Guttenberg here, and I am the audiophiliac. We've had the analog-digital divide since the early 80s, and there's no sign of it coming together. But the folks on either side of that divide, the analog people or the digital people, they make it sound like if only analog got better, if only digital got better, we would get gigantically closer to perfect sound that sounds exactly like a real live grand piano, a real live drum kit, a band, an orchestra. But, you know, I don't think that's the limitation. I don't think that digital has to get hugely better to deliver that sound. And I don't think analog has to get better, meaning reel-to-reel analog recorders and turntables and cartridges and all that stuff. I don't think they are, right now, the major bottleneck in terms of what's holding us up, what's keeping us from getting there. I think it's the microphones, and I think it's speakers and headphones. I think they are the limiting factors, but I think more, if I had to go one way or another, is it speakers or is it microphones? I used to think it was speakers, but I'm really coming to feel like it's the microphones themselves. You know, if you think about it, microphones and eardrums are, at least mechanically, so to speak, I mean, vibrating membranes are similar, right? They both are relatively small. They both pick up sound, change vibrating sound, energy in the air into an electrical signal. In microphones, an actual electrical signal. In eardrums, into nerve-ending responses that send exactly electrical signals to the brain. So at least in the functioning part of converting sound waves into energy, into another form of energy, I think they're similar, right? But microphones are stupid devices. They just take what they hear, change it into electricity and into a sine wave, into an electrical wave, and they're done. Their job is done. But eardrums are connected to an intelligent device. It's called a brain, right? A human brain. And the brain takes that sound from the eardrums and processes it and converts it into usable forms, and doesn't take literally exactly what microphones hear and convert it into energy, and the brain just says, okay, that's the sound. No, we're thinking about it or processing it. And one of the ways to realize the discrepancy there, the gulf between the way humans hear and the way microphones hear, is to listen to recordings made on binaural heads, like the ones that Chesky has made for 5 or 6 years now, right? I've been present at those sessions. It's a human-sized head with microphones where the ears are. So in terms of the pickup of sound waves, information at recording sessions, the dummy head, the binaural head at the session, or a human head, they hear differently. Because like I said, the microphones in the dummy head are just connected to a mic preamp, and that's it, right? But the microphones, in quotes, in our ears, our eardrums, they have a brain attached to them, and that brain does a lot of processing to make sense of the things, you know, around us. Same with visual information. There's a lot of processing in the brain to interpret what our eyes see, and with our hearing, the brain does a lot of interpreting in terms of what we hear. The microphones in a binaural head or any other microphone, they're stupid. They do no interpretation. It's up to the recording engineers to take the sound of a microphone and do stuff to that to make it work, right? So I think the microphones themselves are the limiting factor, because they need some kind of next step to take them into some sort of processing realm to make them hear the way we hear. I mean, if you've ever made a recording and placed microphones and you stood where the microphones were, you'd know, like, wow, what they heard and what I heard are not remotely the same thing. So it's fun there, right? You stood in the same place. But you know what I'm saying? It's more complicated than most people, even audiophiles, assume, and probably a lot of recording engineers don't quite see that chasm the way I'm laying it out right here. So I think that's what's going to take to get us to the next step, the next stage of reproducing sound, so that a violin sounds like a violin, like a Stratocaster sounds like a Stratocaster, that an orchestra sounds like an orchestra. We are so far from there now. We get little glimpses of sound that sounds almost believably real, but we're never really there. We're never that close. So that's my thought for today. Analog or digital are not the problem. They are the storage medium. They are not the sound itself, right? You can't actually play back a record by looking at it, and you certainly can't hear sound by looking at a stream of zeros and ones, right? They mean nothing. It's the capture of that sound and the playback of the sound is where the problems start to really happen. So that's the end of today's sermon, but I have something else to say. So I have this thing on Patreon where I have people supporting this show, the Audiophiliac Daily Show, which is commercial free. And I've been asking for people to kick in $1 a month or $2. And for people who kick in a little bit more, I will thank them a couple of times a month. And I'm about to read off a list, a shout out of some of my subscribers. And I will start with John Hoagie, Brian Schroeder. If I'm mangling anybody's name, I apologize. I try to do the best I can. Alex Van DeWint, Vinny Rossi, Chris Russell, Tim Bathis, Walter Winden, Jonathan Skull, John Mercer, what is that guy? Aaron Hobman, Dominic Kalinowski, Jack Wu, Bob Vicentainer, Bob Dickman, Porter Edwards, and Stephen Mishu at the Headphone Annex. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for making this what it is, and an ongoing experiment on YouTube about trying to reach audiophiles with a forum and a platform where you guys can talk to each other in the comments section. And I really enjoy your comments. You don't have to agree with me. Just try to keep it civil. And I will see you guys soon. Thanks.